Hello everyone and welcome back to Coloring with Haley. Today I have a little bit of a special video. We're going to do an update on my critter room because it's been about a year since I filmed my first video. We'll see if I get to add the donkeys to this video. It's been raining for about 3 days in a row, so it's super wet out there right now. And like the other video, I will save all of the tarantulas for last. But I thought that for today's video we would do something a little bit interesting. We would weigh the animals because it's almost time for them to go down in brumation, which is what we call hibernation in reptiles. They like to hibernate during the cold months, and it is about time for them to do that. Bucky here has just been laying around sleeping. He did eat a very big meal last night, and that tells me that he is getting ready to go down to hibernation. So I thought we'd weigh them, see how big they've gotten, and we can weigh them again in the spring and see how much weight they've lost. So this is, of course, Bucky, my blue-tongued skink. He is the one that seems to be quite famous over on Instagram. Let me get the scale here and just set him down a minute. You know, you gotta stay on the scale, little buddy. Yeah, let me hold you on it. You're wanting to crawl everywhere, I know. There you go. And don't walk into the camera. No. He's not going to want to sit still. We may have to put some of these smaller animals in containers. I thought Bucky would sit still for me. He is 1 pound. About 2 pounds, actually. Just by looking at that. And I can do that in grams as well. For everyone that's not American. He is about 600 grams, it looks like, if he would be still, but of course he doesn't want to sit still right now. But we can take a look at him. Hi, buddy. Bucky is 5. He turned 5 this year. I've had him since he was a teeny tiny baby that sat in my hand. Of course, now he is about 2 feet. And 5 is actually not very old for a blue-tongued skink. That is rather young. I'll set him on the ground if he wants to walk around for a minute. They can live well into their 30s, so... And now he's sitting still on the scale. That's great. He is, yeah, rather young. Of breeding age, not a baby, but not an old adult either. He is a species from Australia, as are most of my animals. I just seem to have a fondness for Australian animals. And of course, they especially like to hibernate when it gets cold, because I'm sure they're not used to the temperatures we have here in the States. There he goes. You going somewhere, buddy? I think he hears the dog outside the door, so he's being a little bit cautious right now. He usually will just sleep out in the open. Some of my animals will bury. He is capable of burying. His enclosure is deep enough and he does it occasionally, but in the wintertime he kind of just likes to sit in the open under the light and sleep all day. Like I said, he had a very big meal last night. Scrambled him some eggs to go with his dog food that he was eating. And he ate all of it, and he's already really slowed down on his activity. You can kind of tell when it's about time because they really, really slow down. I mean, he hasn't moved from the same spot in about 5 days, and I keep checking on him to make sure he's all right. He's perfectly fine, just sleeping in the same spot, so that's telling me he is ready to hibernate. And now that he's sitting on the scale just fine, it looks like he is. It's flicking between 556 and 559 grams. Let's put it back over to the, okay, about 1 pound, 3.9 ounces. No, 7.5. There we go. Now that he decided to sit still. And he seems to be, like I said, a favorite over on Instagram. He's a big, very calm lizard. He's one that's fun to show to kids because I know that they can reliably handle him and that he won't bite or anything like that. I mean, he's capable of biting, but he's never bit anyone or even tried to. The blue tongue that he's got, that is his only defense system. He's not venomous or anything in the wild. If you were a cat or something that tried to eat him, he would open his mouth up really wide and show you that bright blue tongue, and you would possibly be afraid of it. It's not a great defense, but he's trying, you know. And of course I can't get him to open his mouth up wide for the camera because, like I said, he's not scared of me. He's not bothered by me, so he's not going to act defensive around me. He's never acted that way around anyone, so that's why I always said he's a great one especially to give to the kids that come visit. Everyone always really likes him. I think the question I get asked the most about Bucky is, what does he feel like? He feels exactly like a basketball. He's not slimy, he's not wet, he's not cold, he feels exactly like a basketball. But that has been Bucky's weigh-in for this year. We're going to officially say he is 1 pound and 7.5 ounces after he rested on there for a bit, so he's quite chunky. That's a big boy. And we'll see how much he weighs in the spring. Continuing on with my Australian animals, we have one of my smallest animals and one of the smallest geckos that Australia has to offer. This is my rough-banded knobtail gecko. There are many different species of knobtail gecko, including smooth ones. But I have this little guy here. He's in a cup because he's so small. I don't want him to escape, and we're pretty zoomed in. I'll turn him around. There we go. And we will turn this on and weigh him. I have it already zeroed out, and he weighs exactly a gram. Wow, yeah, one gram, that's all. He's pretty tiny, and he is full grown, by the way. He won't get any bigger than this, and he eats like 1 or 2 crickets in a setting. He's not even enough to weigh a whole ounce, so it's not showing up in ounces on my little scale here, but I can see that he is 1 gram, so. And he has kind of gone down for the winter too already, been hiding a lot. And I guess he packed on the pounds, I suppose you can say. Like I said, he only really eats 1 or 2 crickets. He doesn't eat a big dinner like Bucky does. That's just the species, since they're so small. I will hold him and show you how little he is in my hand. He can be a little feisty sometimes, so we'll see if he'll sit still for a second. There we go. Oh, that's my hand shaking more than him, but he's probably my most ferocious hunter. When they hunt, they actually sort of remind me of cats. They will wag their tail and then jump on their prey the way a cat would. Oop. There we go, on the ground now. Here, will you sit on the scale so we can show you just kind of in the center of the scale compared to all the other animals? There we go, now we can see how little he is. Don't escape though. Grow it back. And they are pretty flat. Being flat, when you lay out in the sun, in the desert, when you're able to flatten yourself, you have more surface area to heat up and it makes you warmer. So, that's why he's sort of a tiny little flat lizard. Let's turn that again so you can see him a little more. I'm just going to turn with it. There he is. I've had him for about 2 years, I think. He was very, very, very small when I got him. And I wasn't sure even, I was like, oh, I'm terrified to lose something so tiny. I mean, what if I put him in the enclosure and I can't find him because he's so teeny tiny? But he's done very good. Like I said, he can be a little bit feisty, so a little bit of an attitude, which we're showing me right now because he's got his tail lifted up. He will wiggle it back and forth occasionally at me, but he does so more at the crickets he is eating. He's just letting me know that he's not too happy with the fact that I woke him up and put him in this cup to weigh him for this year. So we will record his weight at 1 singular gram. Very heavy, I know. Our next guest may not let go of me long enough to get an accurate weight, but we'll attempt. We've got our first snake. Here we go. And are you going to let go of me for a second? This is my spotted python, another Australian species. Like I said, I really like Australian animals, and I guess you can tell. He is a species of pygmy python, so definitely not the size of those 20 feet python that you think of when I say python. He's probably a little under 2 feet, and he is fully grown. He is an adult. He's showing in right now at... Let me turn it back on. Would you let go of me, please? Yeah, it's not going to get good enough reading because he's holding on to me. Also, if you're wondering if it hurts when he's holding on to me, it doesn't. It feels very much like a firm handshake, but I am an adult and he isn't very big. If you were a child, I wouldn't hand him to a child, just because I wouldn't want him to squeeze their fingers too hard. But for me, yeah, it just feels like a firm handshake. Doesn't hurt at all, and he's just holding on to me because I picked him up and he doesn't want to let go of me. He is attempting to use me as a branch because these guys love to climb. Yeah, let's see if we can get a good weight. on him or if it's not going to register. No, it's registering as low. If it was able to weigh the gecko, you'd think it ought to be able to weigh him. Let's see. And of course he's slithering everywhere. There we go, he let go of me for a second. Come on, why don't you weigh? You think it would weigh him since we can get a weight on the gecko, but it keeps just saying low. He may not be putting enough weight down on it to be felt. He is currently climbing up over on me. Come here. Come here, little dude. And he has also never bit me. I will hand him to older kids. Like I said, I don't want to hand him to smaller children because he does want to get a good hold of you, to hang on to something, and I am afraid that he would hurt a smaller child's hand or their fingers, especially if he wrapped around just a finger. But older kids do enjoy holding him. And I get the same question I get about Bucky. What does he feel like? He feels like a basketball. They both feel the same. He's not cold, he's not wet, he's not slimy. I think that's a common misconception with snakes. He's actually pretty dry feeling. Some snakes have different scales that are called keeled scales, and their scales kind of set up and those feel very rough. But he is a smoother feeling snake, and he's gone up my arm and twisted around. When he sheds, he has a very nice iridescence to his colors here, and he shed not too long ago. He shed at the beginning of September, but that iridescence has kind of faded a little bit, and you can see that he holds on to me nice and kind of stretches out. In the wild in Australia, these actually hunt bats. They will hang out in the caves, in the trees where the bats are, and he would hang on, like he is hanging on to me right now, and stretch out his long neck and grab a bat. In captivity here, he just eats little mice that you can get frozen at your pet store. That's always a fun one. People are like, well, where do you get mice? Well, your pet store has a freezer. I don't know if you knew that or not, but your pet store does have a freezer, and there are mice in it. That's a piece of wood, by the way. That's sitting on the scale. He brought some wood chips with him. Oh, are you going to get on the scale on your own now? Yeah, look at that. That's not so bad, is it? Now let me weigh you. Put some pressure down on it so it can detect that you're there. No, of course he said no. Now that I've turned it on. Yeah, he's not putting down enough pressure on it. He just simply, I don't think he's capable of putting enough pressure on it, actually, to be honest. Yeah, he's going the other way. Here, I know you're very adventurous. He's super curious. He can never sit still. I get him out pretty frequently because, like I said, he's not a very big snake, so he's not hard to handle or anything. He's just extremely curious and loves to look around and explore things. He loves to explore the room, see the other animals in their enclosures. He likes to climb around in the music room behind me, which used to be a closet, so it does have like a big wooden rod hanging on it. He likes to climb around on that, especially sort of like it's a tree branch. And now he's trying to go under the scale. Well, don't go under it. Yeah, don't go under it. Yeah, go on top of it. Come on. There you go. Now, I think he's just a bit too investigative to sit still and let me weigh him. I do think these are excellent pythons to start out with because they're not so big and they don't have the tendency to go off food like some other species do. This guy never misses a meal, and he certainly lets you know when it is meal time. He will be out and climbing all around, waiting for you to give him his food. Oh, we're going to come and explore the camera. Yeah, that's a camera. I don't think you've seen this camera before, have you? Don't tip it over. Here, let me get him. Here, look. There we go. Yes. Don't tip it over. He's always fun. I like that. Animals are sometimes very investigative, and he loves exploring. Don't touch the screen because it's a touch screen and you might turn something on there, little dude. Here, let me see if I can... He's hard to exactly get an exact length on because he never sits exactly straight. I'll try to get him to stretch out here in just a second, and you can kind of see how long he is. And you also can't measure a snake by its shed skin because the skin does stretch quite a bit once it's off the snake. But we'll see if we can get him to travel between my two hands here. Come here. Here. Go that way. There you go. Keep going. Come on. And that's sort of a bit stretched out. You can see he's still got, you know, Oh, he wants to go back that way. Well, I can't get him to stretch out if he's not going to want to, so yeah, it can be a bit hard to get an exact length, but I would have to say that he's 2 feet, maybe a little under, maybe a little over. Oh, we're going back to the touchscreen. No touchscreen. We're going to have to put him back because it's a bit too investigative. He wants to be all over the camera right now while it's on. I'm going to have to let him climb on it while it's off so that he can't touch any of the settings on the touchscreen. So the idea to weigh the animals sort of ended very quickly because I totally forgot to get batteries for the scale before deciding to film this video. And guess what ran out of batteries? Yeah, I'm thinking maybe that's why the snake wouldn't weigh, not that he was putting off pressure on it, but that the scale was acting up because of the lack of batteries. Well, we've got an escapee here, but she's not going to go far, so don't worry. The animal that I'm going to show you is my African bullfrog, and it is a big lady. I was hoping for a boy because the boys get 4 pounds, but mine ended up being a girl, and I thought since we can't weigh her, let's give her an earthworm because she loves earthworms. Those are her favorite treat. Oh, you got it? Come on, you can do it. You can do it. Oh, come on. They're not exactly the most accurate hunters. Sometimes I wonder how they live in the wild, especially when they struggle to grab worms, and she's already got it down. That was pretty fast, huh? We'll give her another one. She weighs about 1 pound. I know that from the last time I weighed her, which... Oh, she's coming over here for the... I'm trying to put the worm in the camera. Come here. Come here, girl. You've got to come out here in the camera. There you go. Did you get that one? There we go. There, that's fun. And she's almost got it down. She's using her hands to put it down into her mouth, which they will actually do that. They will use the little hands. The earthworms I actually buy are just from Walmart. There's a cup of 18 of them. And she can eat that entire cup by herself because she has quite a massive appetite, although she doesn't need to eat the entire cup by herself. My other frogs tend to eat 4 or 5 and then stop. This is just a particularly big lady and she loves to eat. I was hoping we would get to weigh her and some of my other larger frogs because they can be really fun to weigh, especially with their size. But yeah, I totally forgot to get batteries. Here, let's take it down and look at her a little more. There we go. And so that's not going to work out. I just do know that she is about 1 pound. I'm alright with her not being a male. I mean, a 4-pound frog would be really cool to have, but she is spectacular. I love her. I like her ferocious response to eating worms, her favorite food. Oh, can you hear that? That's my donkeys. Or at least that's one of them. They are telling me that it's getting close to dinner time. They yell when it's dinner time. This frog is not making that sound. She is capable of making noises, and if she was a male, I would probably hear her croak quite often in the spring, but because she is a female, she is very silent. If she is agitated enough, she will sort of make a high-pitched, like, screaming noise, but she hasn't made that noise at me very often, and she hasn't made it at a dog very often either. I think she's pretty comfortable with us. You can find videos on YouTube of frogs making that noise when someone is sort of poking at them a lot and agitating them, but I don't like to agitate my animals just to get them to make a funny noise, so I won't be doing that. I will, however, bring out some more animals to show you. I'm sorry that I totally forgot to get batteries for the scale, so we can't weigh these big frogs, but I will get another big frog and we can look at her. I've got another big frog here to show you, and I have changed gloves in between putting these frogs on the ground, and I've cleaned the ground off as well, because frogs have extremely sensitive skin. She's covered in dirt because she had dug a hole and was sitting in it. But this is my female Pac-Man frog. Let's zoom in on her with my hand that isn't covered in dirt. Alright, there she is. I would say that she also weighs about 1 pound, but unfortunately we won't know for certain since we can't weigh her. She also likes to eat earthworms, but she's one of the frogs that kind of taps out after about 4 or 5 of them. And unfortunately I gave my last 2 to the bullfrog because I know that she would have an exciting reaction to eating. This lady is a lot more polite when she takes food, not so excited. You know, she just kind of quietly keeps to herself, eats her worms, and then I give her the next one. Definitely not as much rampage as the pixie frog. Here, let me get this dirt from behind you. There we go. She is a frog from South America, and if you remember from my last video, they are called Pac-Man Frogs because they have an extremely big mouth. From here to here is her mouth, and they just sit around and wait for the food to come to them. So when the food walks across in front of the frog, they'll jump on it and grab it, and they are more mouth than they are anything else. So they earned the name Pac-Man Frogs because they sort of look like a Pac-Man. Now, this is a species where the female is much larger than the male. Sometimes that happens with frogs, and the other frogs that I'm going to show you are the same way. But she is a nice big lady, and she's a little bit dazed, I think, because I woke her up. She is definitely one that has gone under for brumation. She's wondering why I've gotten her up just to see the camera. Hi. Hello, you've been sleeping, huh? She will sleep until about March, and that is when she will come back up. She will stay down until then, buried in a hole. They would bury normally, that's just how they hunt prey, but she will stay buried until March, and then she'll come back up and be ready to eat. And she will eat a bunch to gain back all that weight that she lost over the winter. Let me hold her up closer to the camera. Come here, big lady. Ooh. I've had her for a while. You can see she's about the size of my hand. She's kicking the dirt off her eyes there. You want to go back down on the ground? There you go. Yeah, she's quite big and gelatinous. They are some of my favourite frogs just because I love how big they are. I love it when frogs are ginormous. I think they're so cute. And she's a very, like I said, she's a very nice and polite lady, so she's just going to sit here very still, and she totally wouldn't have the same reaction for food. I've had her, like I said, for about 2-3 years. They can live a long time as well. She can live to be 10, 15, so she's not old by any means. I did get her as a baby. She was about the size of a quarter. I wish I had photos of her when she was a baby on me to show you right now, but they have all been uploaded to my Facebook. Alright, I'm going to get another amphibian to show you, and then we will move on to some of the other animals that I can't get out to weigh, because if you remember, we were supposed to weigh all the animals. I thought that would be more neat than showing them in their enclosures, because once I kind of settle into how an enclosure is built and I like it and the animal likes it, I don't take it down and rebuild it that often, just because, you know, if they like that environment and they're comfortable in it, I don't want to change it. So I thought, what a fantastic idea to weigh all the animals, and then of course the scale battery ran out. So let me get another amphibian, and then we'll move to the animals that we can kind of only see in their enclosures. The last animal that I'm going to take out to show you is my tiger salamander. Here is my big adult male. I love salamanders. If you're wondering what a salamander is, it's sort of a cross between a frog and a lizard. They're like frogs in the sense that they are on land and in the water. Axolotls are actually a larval form of salamander. They haven't lost their gills to live on land. And I know you guys are probably familiar with axolotls. They're kind of popular in all of the cute animal coloring books and the kawaii stuff. This is what the body of an axolotl will look like if it grew up and lost its gills. These guys have gills when they are babies, and like I said, they grow up and they lose them, so they can live on land. And they do need to stay moist, so he stays in his water bowl quite often. My gloves are pre-moistened so that he won't be harmed. And I am wearing a glove with him just like the frogs because their skin is very sensitive, but also because these tiger salamanders can exude a poison from their skin. They would do that for a predator if they're going to be eaten. He's never done it to me. It sort of looks like a milk. It's like a milky white color, very thin. He's never tried to poison me, so I have never had that happen. But if I was some kind of big predator that was going to come up and eat him, he would most certainly do that to me. And he likes to eat earthworms, just like the frogs. Although he isn't such a big eater, he only eats 1 or 2. He's waggling his tail right now. Here, let me move him so that he can sit a little easier. There you go. Hey, buddy. Look at the camera. I keep turning him so that he'll look into the camera, but it's like every time I turn him, he looks the other way. There he is. And these guys are capable of living a really long time as well. One of the very unique things about salamanders is their ability to regenerate their limbs. So if he lost this leg here, for example, say to a bigger fish or some kind of cat or something, he would actually be able to regrow his entire leg. He would be able to regrow the bone, he'd be able to regrow his toes, the skin, the muscle, and he'd have his whole leg back. Then we've actually done studies to learn that when salamanders get, unfortunately, some kind of brain damage, you know, from being attacked by a larger animal, they can heal that as well. So they are pretty crazy. I love having salamanders to look at them. This guy, he will bury sometime later this month, and like the other animals, he will not come back up until March. One of the animals that I'm not going to be weighing is the leopard geckos that I have been babysitting. I talked about babysitting them in the last video, and I'm still babysitting them, but that's alright. They will actually be leaving me very soon. The person I was babysitting them for finally is in a stable environment and ready to take back their geckos. I've grown quite attached to them. This little lady here is probably my favourite. She's very, very friendly compared to my males especially. My males cannot be picked up. Don't know why, they just don't like it and they will bite. Not that they have a hard bite or anything, they just will bite. Oh, there she goes. We'll turn the camera with her. Hi! I don't have any food right now, sorry, I'll feed you later though. And she's going to slide down the opening. If you're wondering why they're on paper towels, it's just because they're not my geckos. So I didn't buy the tiles to put them on like I would with my own. Come here, little lady. Where are you going, You're coming towards the camera and I wanted you to be in the view of the camera so we can look at you, huh? These guys have extremely soft skin and they make good starter pets for children. I said that mine are bitey. If you get one that's not bitey, they're good for kids. Here you go. There you go. You gonna go back down in there? I know, I'm sorry I don't have any food. She's like, why are you opening the enclosure if you don't have any food? These guys are from desertous regions and they do like a rather hot and dry environment. They like eating crickets, superworms, the roaches that I grow. They're very cute, and of course they're called leopard geckos because of their spots, and they come in plenty of different colours. We will look at the male that will be going back to his home this week, but again I'm not going to pick him up because he's like mine and he's a little bit more bitey. That's why some of the animals I wasn't going to weigh them. Some of them are a little bit feisty and can't be picked up to weigh as easily. I just kind of have to monitor how they're doing. But here's this adorable little lady. She is so friendly and so sweet, and I am going to miss her for sure. Here is the little boy that will be going back to his home with the girl. They have to be separated because they will fight. Most reptiles cannot be kept together, but I did want to show you him because he has quite a bit of a different pattern. He actually has a lot more spots all over his body and on his head. Hello, are you stalking the camera, little dude? I'm sorry I don't have your dinner right now because it's not dinner time, I know. They're all wondering why I've come to talk to them and not feed them. I usually talk to them when I'm feeding them, so here he is stalking the camera, looking for something. We're going to see if he'll give us a tail wiggle or not. No? Do you realise I don't have any food, huh? But yes, he will be going home very soon, and I've grown a little bit attached to them both, but I do have my own leopard geckos to take care of, so I won't be short any geckos, so to speak. Hi! I know. They're very cute, awkward-looking little animals. He's a little bit bigger than her in size. The males are a little bit larger naturally, but they're not very big. They're not even a foot long, I would say. They're maybe 5-6 inches. You keep walking out of the camera viewpoint, here. Look, there we go. Hi! He is standing on the glass front of his enclosure, in case you're wondering what both of the geckos were standing on. Hello, aren't you so cute smiling at the camera, huh? And yes, I do need to wipe down the glass, but I haven't done that today. It gets a bit smudged up when I let them walk on it. And I'm just letting him walk on it so you can see him in the camera. Hi, buddy. I don't know their names. I don't think they have names. I haven't invented names for them while they've been here. I'll just call her little girl and him little boy. So we can say those are their names for now. But as you can see on him, he's got lots of spots all over his body. So lots of variety in the colours. And these guys can be bright orange as well. Both of them are yellow. Mine is yellow as well. They can also be black, grey, white. They come in a variety of colours. But I just have the yellow classic leopard ones. But there's his home for now. We will take a look at some more of my geckos. So now let's have a look at the animals that I can't weigh. This is my male Green Day gecko, and he can't be weighed because I actually can't touch him at all. His mechanism for survival is that he will slaw off his own skin. So I don't touch him, and we're not going to be weighing him because I would hate for him to do that. While he is rather friendly, and he's already come out to look at the camera, I would hate for him to do that. He's never done it. one of the times that he's escaped, because he's an escape artist, and I've had to get him off the wall. But I am worried that, you know, he would do it at one point. I do have another day gecko to show you, but we'll take a look at this guy first, because he has a beautiful bright green color. A lot of people ask me, is he actually this color? Yes, he is. We'll zoom in on him. Hi, little buddy, how are you doing? He's very, very interested in what's going on all the time, especially if I'm in here talking. He's got to be right up here to see what I'm talking about. And like I mentioned before, he is an escape artist. He's a bit of a trickery little guy. He will sit here on these doors like he is now, like he wants food, and when I go to open the door to feed him, he will jump out onto my arm, and then he's gone because they are very, very fast. This is actually a species of lizard that can lose its tail and completely regrow it. He has never lost his tail, for me. The one that I will show you next, though, has lost its tail and regrown it, and you can see that he looks just fine. Here, I'll show you his tail so you can see. This is a giant green day gecko. They do come in many species that are small. Hang on, what was that? Okay, that was one of my tree frogs. We're going to look at them in a second. I just heard a noise and I had to turn around and see what's going on. He is a very cute little guy. I call him Kermit because he kind of looks like a Muppet in the face. I'm hoping that he will turn around so we can see him front on, but I don't think he's going to. He's going to kind of look, oh, you're going to turn around so we can look at you, huh? No, maybe not. Here, let me open up this glass panel that he's on, just for a second. Then we can take a look at him that way. Oop, there he is. I'm actually going to have to zoom out, I think, so that it will focus on him. I think I was zoomed in a little bit too close. There we go. Now we can see him better, and you can see that he has some orange spots on his back. That is his natural color, yes, and he is very vibrant, probably the brightest animal that I own. And he eats insects like all the other ones, but he also eats fruit. In the wild, these guys eat plant nectar and they will nibble on fruit. They are invasive in Hawaii, so if any of you have ever been on vacation in Hawaii, you might have seen them. As the name implies, they are actually from Madagascar. But we believe they got to Hawaii on ships carrying fruit because they love fruit. This guy in particular loves a little bit of honey. I just put a little bit on the tip of my finger and I give it to him, and he loves it. He's a very good boy, though. I've had him for about 3 years, and he's always been, other than being an escape artist, he's always been a very good, kind lizard. He's never tried to bite me. It's okay, I don't mind. Some of them are just a little bit nippier, and that's alright, you know, they all have their own little attitudes. Oh, what are you looking at? You see the other gecko beside you? He came out, didn't he? That's why I filmed you first, is because he was hiding. Here. We will close his doors and we will take a look at the other gecko. This guy is actually sitting between the doors, so I can't open them to show you what he looks like, otherwise he's going to be on the camera. But this is my other day gecko. This is a standings day gecko. He is smaller, they are a smaller species, and he's not as vibrantly colored. He has a UVB light just like the other gecko, and if he sits under it, he does flare up some. That's what we call it when they obtain some of their bright colors from setting under the sun. But right now he's not flared up, so he is mostly gray. He's looking at us upside down though. Hello, little guy. He's also probably wondering, where's my food, because you're talking to me and you're the lady that feeds me. When he fires up, his tail is blue and he is green, but it's not as vibrant. It's sort of a muted mint green color. If he were to get off the middle of this, I would totally show you what his back looks like, because he is striped rather than being spotted, but I don't think he's going to move for me. And of course, I realize how gross the grass looks on camera. The grass looks fine in person, but underneath him I am now seeing a smudge on camera. Isn't that how things tend to work out? He is the same as the other one though, native to Madagascar. They eat fruit, they eat bugs, and he's got a lot of climbing space in there because they love to climb. You won't see them on the ground. If they are on the ground, they're probably injured. Oh, are you going to move just enough? Oh, no, he just moved his little toes. And if you're wondering how they hang on to things, of course, I don't have a camera that has the zoom capable of showing you this, but their little toes, and you're looking at my fingers, I know, here are actually hairy. They have very fine hairs on the pads of their toes that allow them to grip onto surfaces, and that is how they hang on. So they actually will clean out their toes quite often, because if they get dirty, they can no longer hang on to things. And if the surface of this glass is very wet, they also can't hang on to things, so when I spray the enclosure down to give them moisture, they will kind of curl the toes up in such a way that the toes are no longer touching the glass, but their feet are. Here. Would you move for just a minute? Yes, come over here where my finger is. Look. Alright, let me see if I can get him to... Would you mind showing us what you look like, huh? Here, I'm going to give you a very quick peek at what he looks like, because he's fast and he's already looking at the camera like he wants to jump on it. Here we go, like I said, right now, kind of a grey colour, but you can see some of the speckles on his face and some of the stripes on his back. You can tell that his tail would be very nice and bright blue if he was under his light, but he isn't right now, so he's of course a faded grey colour. I am going to go ahead and shut this before he makes his grand escape. So I'm showing you another animal that I didn't want to get down to weigh, and like Bucky, these are favorites for everyone that comes to visit. These are my white tree frogs. Once again, a species from Australia, and they are rather hefty for tree frogs. I think when a lot of people think of tree frogs, they think of the smaller species that we have here in America, but these guys are actually pretty hefty. Well, actually, they're girls. Let me get one and set one on my hand. They are sitting in a little dish right now that is frog-shaped. I don't know if you can see it for the leaves, but I'm going to grab one of these ladies and set her over here where you can see her a little bit better. Let me just reach in here. These frogs don't have teeth. And yes, some frogs do have teeth, but these fine ladies don't, so they can't harm you at all. Here we go. Hi! And they are nocturnal, so they kind of enjoy sleeping during the day. Let's set her over here. Can you set there for me? Yeah, there you go. There we go. And they are frogs with the sticky feet, of course. That's how they hang on to everything. They produce a mucus rather than having hairs like the geckos do. These lovely ladies like to sing to me at night. Some female frog species are very vocal. These are very, very, very vocal. I can hear them. They are quite loud. But they have slowed down. Like the other animals, they are going to go into brumation, and during the winter and the fall, they don't sing to me. They sing to me during the spring and the summer, and I miss it when they're not calling, because I do think they have a very beautiful call. There's no way I can get them to call on camera. They, call at night whenever they want to. It's not something I can control. There are 3 of them in here, but I just got out a big female to show you that we could look at here. And they do have a big light above them. It's UVB light, and when they sit under the light, they are actually quite a nice, beautiful, vibrant green color, but they have been sleeping during the day over here in the corner where the light's not hitting them, so they're not bright green right now. Let me actually pick up the male with a different glove and a different hand to show you what he looks like. Once again, frogs have sensitive skin, and I would rather not harm them. You might be surprised to see that the males are a bit smaller than the females. I say a bit smaller, but they're actually quite a lot smaller. Here he is, and he's of course the nice bright color. My hands shake so bad that it's a little bit hard to hold one to show you, but he is a green color because he has been sleeping under the light. So the female that is dark right now does turn that vibrant of a green color once she's been out in the light, but like I said, she has been resting today. These guys usually wake up at about 9 p.m. They will eat earthworms, but they also love to eat crickets. There's just something about them that everyone is super attracted to when they come to visit the animals, even though these are an animal that they can't touch. Everyone just falls in love with these little frogs. And of course, they are the frogs that I use everywhere on YouTube. They're my icon, they're in thumbnails. They're everywhere. They are, I don't like to play favorites, but if I had to pick a favorite frog, it would be them. And actually, I'm going to spray them off because they love a good shower. They are from Australia where it's drier, but of course it does rain in Australia, and they need to stay moist like all frogs. So let's give them a nice shower. There we go. The little male here really likes to be showered. One of the females doesn't, and this must be the female over here that is not too fond of it. There we go. Get nice and moist there, buddy. I love coming in here at night. He's got a little bit of dirt on his leg there. To shower them off. I shower them every single night so they stay nice and wet like frogs should. And sometimes that also entices them to sing. And some people ask if they will have babies because there are males and females in here. No, actually. These frogs require a very, very specific environment to have babies in. They wait for monsoon season in Australia, where there is enough water to lay the eggs in and have the eggs fully develop into tadpoles and then fully develop into frogs. So if I wanted to have babies out of these guys, I would have to create what's called a rain chamber, where it's sort of raining constantly and simulates a monsoon season. So no, actually, these guys in particular wouldn't have babies, and that's why I am able to keep them together rather than having to separate them like a lot of the other animals that are male and female. We'll take one final look at this lady over here. Hi! And then we will go see my possum. Alright, this is my final stop before we see the tarantula, so this is your final warning after we look at my possum, who is already coming out of his house. We are going to look at these spiders, and if you do not want to see spiders, you will want to end the video after we look at the possum. And he is cuddled up in that little greenhouse, although I see his nose poking out. This is Kimchi, my short-tailed possum. They are pretty similar to the possums we have here in North America, except way smaller. He has all the same mannerisms and the same diet, but they are called Monodelphis domestica because they do very good in a domesticated habitat. We use these possums in labs to research DNA and study genes. We've been using them for years because they do so well in captivity. They've taught us a lot about marsupials. And now remember that a marsupial is an animal that has a pouch that they carry the babies in. There's what he looks like. I had to uncover him for just a second so you could see him. He's going to go in the back corner though. He is a little dude, and I don't pick him up very often because he is very squirmy. Oh, there we go. Having to fall back on him, so I think he's alright. And he doesn't sit still very well, so they're not an animal or a pet that is cuddly. They're an animal that is on the move 24/7. He's got a big enclosure here that is huge for his little size. He's got a big hamster wheel to run on. He's got ropes everywhere. He's got things to climb up and down. He's got all kinds of different things to hide in. Hi, buddy, are you going to come out and say hello? I know it's usually afternoon and you're not usually awake by now. He usually wakes up around 10 p.m, but he sees me filming, so he's going to come out and say hello, I think. He's going to sit on top of his house there under his heat light. I am actually going to close this door in case he decides that he wants to jump on the camera, because they are excellent climbers and excellent jumpers. I would hate for him to jump on the camera and knock it down. There he is in the back corner. I know he's kind of hard to see through the bars. I don't want to bother him too much and disturb him too much because it is daytime and I know he needs to go back to sleep. But I thought I'd give you a quick glimpse of him. He's actually going down there to get in one of his houses so that he can sleep without me bothering him. If you're interested in seeing more pictures and videos of him, I post a bunch of them on Instagram, usually around midnight when he actually is awake and is active. But he is my pride and joy, one of the most interesting animals I've ever owned, and I think that I will ever own. Unfortunately, they only live to be about 5. They don't live very long. He is almost 2 years old now, and about the size of a Syrian hamster, or what some people know as a teddy bear hamster. But this is going to be your warning now. I'm about to show you tarantulas, so look away if you don't want to see spiders. Now we are going to take a look at some of my tarantulas. You will notice that I do have less tarantulas than I had in the previous video. Unfortunately, some of my tarantulas grew up and were males. Now, male tarantulas live to be about 2, while female tarantulas can live to be about 30. So you can see the difference there when they grow up and they are a boy. You can tell their sex when they are small, though I struggle to see the differences. They are most obvious to me when the tarantula is fully mature as an adult. The males will grow hooks on their front legs, and those are pretty easy to see. I can't tell the difference when they're small, so sometimes I do end up buying males, but I've gotten lucky and I've got 3 females. Let's see if we can tempt this big lady out. Come here. This brush kind of would simulate a bug in the dirt. Well, I don't think she's interested. Let me see if we can move the enclosure at all and see her in her home. I don't think we're going to be able to because she is hiding back there very well. This would be my big blonde tarantula. Oh, can you hear the donkeys again? Yes, they're letting me know it's close to dinner time. But I don't think she's going to come out for us to be able to see her. I will get a tarantula that I know will be out so we can at least look at one that is out. Here we go. I went and found my tarantula that I knew would be out. This is my Costa Rican zebra knee tarantula, otherwise known as Aphonopelma simani. We use the scientific names for tarantulas a lot because a lot of them have the same common name. This is my big girl that is not at all shy like some of the other ones. Unfortunately, the Bologna tarantula is a little bit shy. I was hoping she would come out so we could see her, but I just don't think she's going to cooperate. Let me move this a little bit closer. There we go. This big lady has been with me for about 5 years, just like Bucky has. And as I said before, that's not at all old for a tarantula, given that it can live to be 30. She was an adult when I got her, so I'm not certain on her actual age. I know she's at least 5, because she's been with me for 5 years. But I don't think she is anywhere near 30. That would be in captivity for a very long time. You know, I don't think a pet store would sell a tarantula that's that old. They would have had to have had it for a very, very long time. But she's a lovely, lovely lady, like dark black color with the white stripes on her legs. She's always been a very good eater for me, and I'm sure she's out right now. Because I moved her enclosure, she's probably wondering where her food is. But I feed in the evening, and it is afternoon right now, so everyone's a little bit confused, I think. She's a great tarantula to show to kids because she is a lot calmer. Now, one of the fun facts about these tarantulas and the desert blonde tarantula that I showed you is they are covered in hair, and that hair is actually purposeful. They are called urticating hairs, and they will make you very, very itchy. The tarantula will actually use its back legs here to kick this hair off its abdomen at a predator. So if you were a cat or a lizard or a snake coming to this tarantula to eat it, they would kick the hair at you and it would make you very itchy, and it would especially be bad if it got in your eyes because that would be very irritating. And of course, when we think of animals, you know, kind of bending down to smell the tarantula, it would be right in their face. So it's a very nice defense mechanism. They are actually not very prone to bite because of this. They are going to use their hairs as a first line of defense because they do want to save the venom for their prey. Now, if you are bitten by this species of tarantula, they are actually not very venomous. It's like a bee sting, so it's going to hurt for a while, but, you know, it's not something that could harm you unless you were allergic to it, just like being allergic to a bee sting. So these are not dangerous tarantulas to keep by any means. They are actually pretty safe. There are some tarantulas out there that do have pretty hefty venom, and I'm just using this brush here, like I was with the other tarantula, to kind of point at her instead of putting my fingers down there, because I by no means want to get bit by them, even though I would be not harmed by them. I still just don't want that to happen, and I've actually never been bit by a tarantula. None of mine have ever even come close to biting me. I don't hold them, though. I do leave them in the enclosures, and I do not let children hold them either. The main reason being because they are very, 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 very fast. And the tarantula would be off of your hands and on my ceiling within an instant, and then I'd have to go fetch it. And since they're so fast, they can be quite hard to chase down, or so I have heard. I haven't had an escapee ever, thankfully. I would not like that. I do like spiders, but I don't want a giant one escaped and crawling around my home. So I'm going to show you one last tarantula, since I only have 3 females now. And that tarantula is probably not going to be out either because she is even more shy than my blonde tarantula. But we can take a look at some of the interesting structures she has built in her home. So this tarantula here isn't exactly out. This is her back legs right here, but she's not out where we can see her head or anything. This is my horned baboon tarantula. Yes, she does have a horn on her head, and we believe the horn serves the same purpose as a camel's hump. In other words, it stores moisture because she is from the African desert. And you will notice that she is in a very different enclosure. That's because this species of tarantula likes to dig very deep holes and tunnels, and they live in those. So I'm going to close up the lid here, and I will show you her tunnels because you can see them from the side. She can't open this lid, she's not strong enough. Let's turn it around so you can see where she's gone off into. Is a big hole down here. And these actually do go all the way to the bottom. If I pick up the bottom of the enclosure and lift it up, you can see where she's webbed some here to create a tunnel that goes down this way. You can see part of a tunnel here. She's a pretty incredible tunneler. You can see part of a tunnel going down there. And she uses a lot of web to hold up that tunnel. She has spun all this web herself. They do not use the web to catch insects like some other spiders do. Instead, let me open this back up and use my brush to demonstrate. Instead, when a bug would be walking around on this mat, is what we call it up here, of web, she would feel that and come get the bug, rather than laying it down and the bug gets stuck in it like these spiders that you think of around here. But yes, her tunnels do go all the way down to the bottom down here. And if I gave her even a deeper enclosure, I know she would be able to tunnel all the way down to the bottom of those as well. She is not as big as my other two tarantulas. Some species of tarantulas aren't all that big in the grand scheme of things. I'm sure for some people they're like, that's a very big spider. But she's not that big compared to the other tarantulas that at least have a leg span of, 4 or 5 inches. I would say hers is probably 2 or 3. But she does eat very well for me, and I love looking at her tunnels that she builds. And of course her enclosure is rather dry because she's from an African climate, and if you make it too wet, that can actually harm the tarantula. I don't think she's got any tunnels here on the back. They're on the other 3 sides. But she has been very interesting to keep. I do wish she would come out so that you could see the horn on her head, but like I said, she is extremely shy, as are the majority of tarantulas that I've kept. They're not a big fan of being out in the open. I usually just drop the food in the enclosure, and then if I come back a little while later and the food's still there, I'll take it out. If I come back and it's gone, then I know the spider has gotten it and I don't have to worry. We will be ending the video here, though. I wanted to do the tarantulas, like I said, for the very last animal, because I want to keep them at the end so people can skip it if they don't like spiders and they don't want to see spiders. They don't have to see them. I know that that is a big fear for a lot of people. They've never really bothered me, but what bothers me is slugs. I know that is a weird one, but that's what bothers me, so it's totally okay to be bothered by spiders, but I did want to keep them here at the end just so anyone that wanted to see the other animals could see the other animals and skip over seeing the tarantulas. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's been a little bit chaotic, especially with our scale failing there for a little bit. That was unexpected. I can't believe that I didn't buy batteries for it. Yeah, let's put her over in the middle so you have something a bit more entertaining to look at while I talk. Yeah, I can't believe I didn't buy batteries for that. I didn't even think that, oh my gosh, the batteries on it are going to run out, So thank you for holding it together through this extremely chaotic video, but I hope you enjoyed seeing updates on some of the animals. I know it's not all of them. I would love to get outside and see the donkeys, but it has been too wet and I have been too busy. Thank you so much for watching.